Right. So now that we've seen me say about 8,000 times, I hope I'll lessen it. But to start off, I'm gonna mention it. This is part of the National Competitive Pokemon League, the NCPL. It's a Facebook group. They generally host draft leagues. They have done tournament tours, but they are 6 seasons deep in draft. So let's get to the next Rate My Team. Actually, first off, I do want to mention, instead of at the end, my ratings are not be all end all. I just want this to be fun and enjoyable. I'm just showing you guys what I see, and I hope this is helpful for the person with the team and helpful for people that are going to verse the team. So I always love having really competitive drafts, and I'm sure everybody else could say the same. So I hope you guys enjoy this. So to start off, Tapu Koko, Infernape. Oh fuck. Of course I'm doing this, and I noticed that I put Infernap. I'm so sorry, Jared. Empoleon, Quagsire, Basculin, Mega Venusaur, Azelf, Alola Raichu, and Hitmonchan. So my rating system, as I said in the very first Rate My Team, each attribute is out of 10. There's a total of 5 attributes, and a maximum total score of 50, and the lowest score you can get is 0. I don't think anybody's going to get close to 0. I do believe that there is only good and really good draft teams. So starting off with offense, I rated an 8. So looking at his team, he's got Koko, Infernape, Basculin, Alola Raichu, Hitmonchan, and you could argue that Azelf would be part of the offense as well, since it's an offensive lead. It's not really anything else. One thing I want to mention here in his offense is people are going to look and be like, oh, Basculin, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, he did get Flip Turn. Well, yeah, he got Flip Turn, and he has adaptability, and he's got pretty good coverage. I believe he has, excuse me, Psychic Fangs, Crunch, Flip Turn, Liquidation, Aqua Jet, all with adaptability. So I mean, yeah, for his first stab moves, but you understand what I mean. He's got pretty good coverage. His speed is okay. I think it's around 300. This thing is going to hit a lot harder than you're going to expect it. When you verse this, definitely do your calcs, because don't think, oh, he's a UU or an RU or an NU tier Pokemon. He isn't going to hit my guy pretty hard. Calc him, because if you don't, he might 2-hit KO you. So but we'll get back to the Tapu Koko. Super great offensive Pokemon, very, very similar to Landorus in the respects it can kind of do anything. It's got defog, it's got screens, it's incredibly fast. Having a 399 max speed is phenomenal. It's going to outspeed some Choice Scarfers naturally. His attack stats are okay, but you're going to see this thing U-turn and Volt Switch, set up electric terrain for that Raichu, or set up screens for his team, or defog them hazards away. So offensively, a super, super flexible Pokemon. Really, really makes his offense a lot better. Next, we're going to go with Infernape. Now, I feel like Infernape always looks like a good draft pick, but it becomes very predictable once you figure out the set, in my opinion. I still think it's a good draft pick because of its versatility and moveset and being a special attacker and attacker, but it has 346, I believe, max speed, which is pretty good, but very, very mediocre defensive stats. Health is quite low as well. So, and his attack stats aren't that high, so he's generally not going to one-hit you. So, regardless though, the versatility of this Pokemon is high. It does have rocks. It has Fake Out. I can't remember if it has U-turn. I don't think so, but it can be physical or special, and has physical and special priority moves in Vacuum Wave and Mach Punch, which are both stab. So great offensive Pokemon. So I'm gonna mention Raichu last because I think that's a really focal point to his team. But so we're going to talk about Hitmonchan and Azelf. Hitmonchan, probably not going to see it a whole lot. I believe it has Rapid Spin and Bulk Up. It's got Iron Fist, decent coverage with Iron Fist because Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Mach Punch, you know, all that stuff, right? Drain Punch. But slow, base 50 health, that's pretty dang low, especially in draft. I mean, this thing takes a, you know, Life Orb, anything that's neutral probably is not going to tank it very well, if not just outright die. Next up, you got Azelf. Suicide Lead generally is what it is. It's got Levitate, so it kind of cleans up his Earthquake weakness, which he's got between 4 Pokemon. Yikes, 4 Pokemon. So if he can keep that longer than just the lead, it'll be really, really beneficial to him, being able to immune Earthquakes. It's got Stealth Rocks, Explosion, Fire Blast, Taunt. So, it's a good anti-lead too, especially if you run a Focus Sash with it. Yeah, and, having access to Fire Blast, it really deters other leads, people leading off with like Ferrothorn or Tangrowth or some shit like that, right? So, last, we're going to have Alola Raichu, and he did draft this after his original draft, and I think this was the only thing missing from his team. Had he not had this Pokemon, his offense would be a lot lower because I just couldn't see how it connected together. But being able to utilize that electric terrain, and with the new move Rising Voltage, I think people really didn't see how strong terrain is. Rising Voltage is similar to Expanding Force. I think it's like a base 130 move or something like that, plus stab, plus the terrain boost. So Raichu not having the greatest special attack isn't going to matter because, it's basically going to be using Explosion, except it's electric and stab. So obviously not as strong as Explosion, but you understand what I mean. To double speed in terrain and to have a item like Terrain Extender, this Pokemon having decent coverage in Psychic, Electric, and I think it learns a few other coverage moves. I'm not going to go into looking up those things, but I will say this is a very, very strong point to his offense. And keeping terrain away is going to be the key to beating Jared here. Keeping the terrain off so that you don't get that doubled speed in Raichu is going to help you outspeed him and win. Yeah, not much more to say. Watch out for Rising Voltage. Either get rid of Tapu Koko or suffer the consequences of having Raichu Rising Voltage your team. So having an electric immunity is really going to help as well. So let's see. We got defense next, 6.5. So looking at it, I could have rated it higher since Venusaur is pretty hard to take down if you don't have a Psychic type. With having thick fat and being as bulky as he is, and then having Leech Seed and Synthesis and Giga Drain, pretty dang hard to take down. So I would recommend making sure you have a Psychic type before versing Jared's team, or at least something that can really check this Venusaur, maybe like another Grass type or something like that. But even then, you're walled by him and he's kind of walled by you, so it's kind of counterproductive to do a Grass type. You generally would want a Psychic type to verse him, or at least a Psychic move. Psychic Stab would be nice. So defensively, we also have only 2 other Pokemon. His team is very offense oriented, but we got Quagsire and Empoleon. So Quagsire having Unaware and Water Absorb, decent. It helps him with his Earthquake weakness. It helps him with his Water weakness on Infernape. Unaware helps against boosters. He has Rocks. He has Recover, but he is what do you say it? Susceptible to status. And as we can see, Jared doesn't have any status healers. Does Tapu Koko learn Heal Bell? I do want to check that really quick. I don't know if he learns Heal Bell. If not, Jared's team is pretty susceptible defensively to hazards. and status. Let's see here. No heal bell. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a heal beller. So that Quagsire is going to be really susceptible to toxic or burns. Generally you would want a toxic on it. A burn is not as useful. I mean, it's still good, but you would generally just want a toxic on Quagsire. He then has Empoleon. Steel type is nice to have. It's a defogger. It's pretty good at that. Being weak to Earthquake as a defensive Pokemon kind of sucks, since Earthquake is really common. Not a bad pick. I think it was tier 3, and if that's the case, I feel like it was a little bit high price for what it is. Again, not a bad type. Needed a steel type that I don't... Sorry, I didn't want to get into calcing or looking at things on the internet, but I do want to see if he is... Right, he is not weak to fire, so not being weak to fire as well is going to help him versus, the fairies like Hatterene or Clefable or... any other fairy with mystical fire like Gardevoir or something like that. So overall, his defense I rated 6.5. I don't think it's the best, but his team isn't focused around that. It's around attacking and leaning on Venusaur when he needs to. So next up we got speed 9. This is a 9 because you got Tapu Koko at 399 and you got double speed, which is over 500 with Alola Raichu, 364 with Azelf, and then 346 with Infernape. 303 you can mention Basculin, and he has Aqua Jet too, so you're probably really not going to outspeed Jared's team a whole lot unless you're choice scarfing. You probably want to focus on taking down Koko or Raichu so that you can have an opportunity in beating him with speed. Other than that, you're looking at a bunch of Pokemon, a handful of Pokemon who borderline 400, and once you borderline that 400 mark, you're outspeeding choice scarf Pokemon naturally, which is an incredible asset to a team. So next up we got hazards. Sorry, one sec here. Next we have hazards. Hazards I rated a 7.5. Azelf, kind of one of the best leads in the game with Taunt, Focus Sash, Levitate, Stealth Rock, Fire Blast. He almost always gets Stealth Rocks up, and sometimes gets out safely. Has Explosion. You got rocks in Empoleon. You got rocks in Infernape. You got Leech Seed in Venusaur, and then you got Hazard Control in 2 Pokemon. One being one of the best in doing that, which is Koko and Defog. You got rocks in Quagsire as well, so he's got a plethora of ways to get the hazards up and get the hazards out, so not bad. I wouldn't say it's anything like Matt's, where you got multiple rockers and spikers and things like that, but he does have good hazard control, and that's going to be really valuable when he versus people like Matt. So last but not least, we got momentum. Now his momentum isn't like Chris's, but it's kind of got that snowbally effect, where he gets the terrain up with Tapu Koko, and then he kind of just rising voltages. If you don't have a immunity to rising voltage, it could snowball him a win where he one-hit KOs multiple Pokemon with that, and really snowballs him a lead. He's got Flip Turn and U-Turn, so I think that's going to keep up the momentum. Flip Turn into Venusaur, Leech Seed forces you to switch. He's really making you switch and get chipped down and force you to make predictions that you don't want to make. So overall, I rated his team a 38. So one of the better scores, and close to that 40 mark. I think Jared's got a good team. It's kind of hard to exploit his team since he's got Mega Venusaur, which is an enormous backbone to any team. And high speed tiers. So again, if he sends out a lead that's fast, it's going to be hard to exploit it, especially if you don't have anything that's scarfed or have anything to beat that speed with. You're probably going to look at wanting to Trick Room against him, or have just a really bulky team that can, whittle down his team that's weak to Earthquake and Grass and things like that. So, yeah, like I said, there's no bad teams. There's good and there's really good, and Jared is closer to really good, but a little bit below, I'd say. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy these. I hope it's something that you want to see more of, and I wanted to give everybody something to visually represent their team and help people team build versus these teams. So yeah, next one, I think, who do we got here? Who do we have next? We have Daniel next. So I will be doing Daniel's as soon as I can. I've got to catch up, so I apologize if these sound rushed, but I didn't want to make some 30-minute long or 40-minute long video, especially when I don't have any other people to do this with. I would be looking at Leo and Calvin and Chris and maybe Hayden to do these with me. That way I get some more insight, and you guys aren't just listening to me say 9,000 times and take big deep breaths and all that good stuff. But yeah, anyways, good luck to you guys in the tournament. I can't wait to verse all you guys. So yeah, we'll see you on the next. Next up on the NCPL, or the National Competitive Pokemon League, rate my team would be Daniel Clower, or Daniel C. He has probably one of, if not the best draft in just terms of being able to do anything. So he drafted a Hydreigon, Rillaboom, Vaporeon, Bronzong, Chinchinu, Hawlucha, Mega Manectric, Dhelmise, Drapion, Piloswine or Piloswine, Gramble, Silvally Poison. So, as I said in the other ones, my ratings are not be-all, end-all. I'm no super Pokemon guru or the best player. I just want something fun and enjoyable for people to visually see, and hopefully help them build or help people build against them. So I hope these aren't super cringy or super bad. It is kind of hard to talk by myself, and I'm generally not somebody who just does these all the time. So anyways, let's get into it. Total score can be 50, lowest being 0. Each attribute is out of 10. So offensively, I rated Daniel's team 9. I rated it a 9 because you have Hydreigon, Rillaboom, Chinchino, Hawlucha, Mega Manectric, and to some extent you could say Silvally Poison can be used offensively as well. So how do these make a 9? Well, you have Rillaboom with Grassy Surge and Grassy Glide, and then you have Hawlucha, who can capitalize on the grassy terrain as well as threaten other people's terrain. These two combined are just really great combination. So it also weakens the Earthquake damage, so that helps with his Silvally, his Drapion, and his Mega Manectric. So a really great setup so far between Rillaboom and Hawlucha. The ability to break and priority, and then the ability to sweep with double speed, unburden. And then you got Hydreigon, who can U-turn, defog, nasty plot. He can be, any of those things, plus his move pool is quite big. Having Stab Dark Pulse is never bad. A lot of Pokemon just hits neutral, which is great. So his speed tier is really good. His special attack is really, really high. And nothing to complain about with Hydreigon. So next up is Cinccino. For 1 point, one damn point, this Pokemon is pretty good in draft. With Skill Link, Rock Blast, Bullet Seed, Tail Slap, it's a good lead. It has U-turn. I think it has knockoff too. So, what more can I say? 1 damn point for that Pokemon, and its speed tier is freaking high, man. 361, I think, is what it is. So, 4 Pokemon already. He's just really utilized his draft points, and they all can work really well together. So, next up we have Mega Manectric. A Volt Switcher is never bad. It's also an electric immunity in his non-mega form, which helps out with Vaporeon and Hawlucha. So also an Intimidator, so he can switch into things. He's not very bulky, but that Intimidate helps him switch into things better, and helps keep that momentum up for Daniel. And Silvally Poison can be an honorable mention for offensive, having multi-attack. So Stab Poison, is it 120 for multi-attack or 100? It's high, and to have that to fight off fairies is going to be really good, especially with Parting Shot, Defog, and U-turn himself, and then just a really great move pool in general. So Silvally Poison is definitely a really good pick by him. Again, that's one point for that Pokemon, which is crazy. So the people that drafted Silvally's, like Fairy and Steel, they really got that one use of that 1 point. So that, all that combined, that really makes up a 9, and that's a really, really hard team to wall or stop from sweeping, and that deserves a high rating. So next we got defense, rated a 9 as well. His core is just it's impeccable, and it's going to be damn near impossible to break. And a difference between his core and somebody like Matt's core, who just drafted a really bulky, stally team in general, is Vaporeon and Piloswine. Like, those two work so damn well together, because Vaporeon can keep Piloswine alive, and then Piloswine immunes those electric type attacks, and they both deal with fire type, Vaporeon more so. Vaporeon also deals with all of Piloswine's other weaknesses. So I mean, Piloswine with Eviolite and Stealth Rocks, it's just a super hard mon to take down. So combine that with Vaporeon and Wish Passing, and now Vaporeon got Flip Turn, and Vaporeon was only worth 3 points. So Daniel did his homework when he was drafting for sure. So he's that core alone is absolutely higher than a 7. So combine that with Bronzong, who also has rocks, also helps with ground immunity for his ground weaknesses like Manectric and Silvally and Drapion. That with the ability to wall electric type attacks or special attacks in general. Having 2 knockoff weaknesses. I mean, Piloswine's not weak to knockoff, but he doesn't like it. He wants to keep his Eviolite. That kind of sucks. It's not the worst though. I think if there was another Pokemon there that does what Bronzong does and wasn't Eviolite weak, same with Dhelmise being not Eviolite weak, knockoff weak, same with Dhelmise being knockoff weak, I think I would have rated his defense a 10. So Bronzong does what Piloswine does. Stealth Rock, Toxic, doesn't have recovery, relies on Vaporeon. So next you got Dhelmise. super fucking bulky Pokemon. Every time I verse this Pokemon, I take it for granted because I think it's just that defensive Pokemon that's going to sit there and just, you know, recover or, synthesis, leech seed, whatever. But its attack is over 350. It has Anchor Shot, which traps you and gets 1.3 times damage, so he doesn't need to run a Life Orb. And, you know, having that fighting immunity for, you know, his fighting weakness in Hydreigon and Piloswine and in Drapion is going to be super, super useful to just switch into. He's got to be mindful, though, that a lot of fighting types do have knockoff as well, so that is a bit of a weakness for his team. Fighting types or Pokemon with fighting attacks and dark attacks, as he won't be able to switch them in too often, and he'd have to rely on Piloswine and Vaporeon, which could become predictable. And he could easily get worn down like that. So, and then he recently grabbed Gramble, which I think was a great scoop. 1 point is what he's worth. He has Heal Bell. He can be offensive. This gives him a double Intimidate, which is great. It helps him deal with Dragon types, which I think is one of the things that he needed on his team to immune Dragon type moves, as Draco Meteor is a big problem. Other than that, he's got Thunder Wave and he's got Fairy Stab. Aside from that, Gramble doesn't do too much more. So next we got Silvally Poison. As I said in the offensive section, he does have Defog, he has U-Turn, he does have Explosion. So I mean, he's going to be a pivoter more than a defensive Pokemon, but he can also absorb Toxic and Toxic Spikes, so that really helps his team. Drapion kind of does the same thing. So speed tier, his speed tier is pretty damn good. I mean, he's got double speed Hawlucha. Rillaboom's an honorable mention because the speed tier is not that low, but he gets Grassy Glide, so, and he sets up grassy terrain, so he's got priority in that with Stab and Grassy Terrain boost. And then you got Mega Manectric, who's 405, and I mean, that's going to naturally outspeed a lot of Choice Scarfers and just outspeed Pokemon in general. You got 2 Pokemon at 317 in Drapion and Silvally. And then you got Cinccino at 361. Just over, and then you got Hydreigon, who's over 300 as well. Overall, you know, 60 to 70% of his team is over 300, which is really, really good. He will have to watch out for Robin's team, who likes to do Trick Room. Versing such a fast team, it might pose some problems for Daniel. So, but yeah, his speed I rated an 8.5. I mean, having so many Pokemon over 300, you know, like I was saying before, 300 is a bit of a mediocre speed tier, but to have so many Pokemon over 300 that are bulky or that are have priority or just strong in general is absolutely valuable to him. So next we have Hazards, 7.5. He's got Rocks with Bronzong, he's got Rocks with Piloswine, he's got Toxic Spikes with Drapion, he's got Rocks with Delmise. So I mean, he's just got a plethora of ways to get Rocks out, and as I seen in one of his matches, he doesn't reveal his moves very easily, so it's very hard to figure out the movesets that these Pokemon are running. Since there's Rocks on so many Pokemon that he can have, it frees up move slots, and those freed up move slots could be coverage moves or bulk up moves or anything like that. So, you know, that's one thing you got to watch out when versing Daniel is, you know, scout his sets, make sure you know who the Rock setter is and what the other move sets are. One thing I do want to mention is, as we saw, Piloswine have Rocks before, and that freed up Bronzong to run Reflect. I can't remember if he had Rocks and Reflect, but that did allow Bronzong to run Reflect as well. So not much more to say. Those Hazards, Stealth Rocks is super good. Toxic Spikes is never a bad option either. So that was rated 7.5. And last we have Momentum. I rated an 8.5. The momentum off of just grassy terrain and unburdened Hawlucha is crazy. I mean, he's going to force people to switch in things, or he's just going to clean up a team at the end of the game. That combined with Volt Switch, Intimidate from Manectric, and Flip Turn from Vaporeon, and U-turn / Parting Shot from Sovali, and U-turn from Cinccino, U-turn from Rillaboom, U-turn from Hydreigon. I mean, like, you know, how many times I gotta say it? He's got U-turn on almost every single mon, and he's got such a bulky team to go with it. I mean, how do you really slow it down? You got to make these double predictions that is just gonna potentially cost you. So Daniel's able to keep momentum on his side almost at all points in the game unless you make a good prediction, and you know that deserves an 8.5. You know, I don't know what would make me rate a team higher than 8.5 for momentum besides, like, you know, Chris, who had a 10 with that double Intimidate core, but you know, Daniel drafted another Intimidator, so I could easily rate this higher than 8.5, but it's kind of how Daniel utilizes those U-turns that keeps up his momentum. So hats off to Daniel. He's got the best rating so far, 42.5. This is going to be an extremely hard team to beat, and as we've seen, Daniel does make intelligent plays. So you get an intelligent player with a really good team like this, it's going to be a lot of problems for everybody. My my suggestion for people versing this team is Logicals. It's hard. I mean, you gotta lead with the right lead. I would say attacking is probably better than trying to get you know, chip damage off with spikes or something like that. Setting up a choice bander would be really good to chip down his team and getting optimal predictions. But one thing I didn't mention in the hazards is hazard control. He's got tons of hazard control with Rapid Spin on Delmise, Defog on Sovali, Defog on Hydreigon. So, you know, it's really hard to keep hazards on his side, and that's why I would say that sometimes attacking might be better than trying to get those hazards up, especially against a team like this, where he's gonna probably U-turn or Volt Switch, something like that. So having a wall breaker is gonna be really, really valuable versus Daniel. Great team, Daniel, and I can't wait to see more of your matches and see what you can do with this team. And yeah, the next person that we got up is Leo. He drafted a rain team, so I'll get into that soon. I got lots to catch up on. Again, I hope you guys enjoy these rather than get upset about these. I'm just wanting to have fun, and I want everybody to have fun with me as well. So if you guys like these and you guys want something else or something different or something more, let me know. I'm definitely open to trying to do other things. One thing that I would like to try and do with Leo, Calvin, or Hayden, or Chris is going over match analysis and before the match happens, and you know, going over our thoughts, kind of like a discussion / podcast type style. I'd like to do those with more than just myself, because as you guys can tell, I say a lot and I run out of breath and my mouth gets dry, so it's definitely hard talking the entire time, especially for 20 minutes straight. So I hope these aren't super cringy, and thank you guys for watching.